America is running out of money and nobody cares. We can see what's happening with the interest rate situation right now, where interest rates remain high and people are just living off credit and carrying large balances. It's reported that many people, many Americans are maxed out right now. How are people going to survive? The answer is that people are just going to stop paying their bills. They're going to stop paying their rent. We already know what Gen Z is about. Gen Z is the future of squatters. They are the future of squatters. We already see, like, Gen Z is already practicing territory takeovers. We're watching that play out right now. But you're going to basically see people who are heavily unhoused moving out to the woods and then being dragged back to society in handcuffs by the state, mass homelessness, and a variety of other things. And women are the ones who are going to experience the gravest hardship this time because there is no state to protect them. The state is going to show them a shocking reality where if you're not making money for the state, we're not providing for you, we're not protecting you. They're going to turn to the simp economy and be shocked when the simps are not there to pick them back up. The Plan B guys are there. The simp economy is moving overseas, and women are going to continue to go around for the next 2 decades swearing that they still deserve millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires because they're worth it, even as they don't even have a toilet to go potty in. Let's jump into this video by the Money GPS. I'm going to have his channel linked in the description.
We have become so desensitized to all the news. It piles up each and every day, and we just say, whatever, it's not going to be any change. There's nothing's going to happen. We got to avoid it. We got to ignore it. Look over there. It's a shiny object. And yet, so much is going on, and I'm going to show you why this is such a concern. What's on your mind? We're going to discuss that first. You came here for the truth. So let me unveil that for you. In today's video, I want to talk about my favorite topic, inflation. Who causes it? Oh, don't look over there. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. The most important financial problem facing U.S. families. Look, high cost of living and inflation. This is it. And then in a second place, far second place, is the cost of owning or renting a home. It's the same. What about this? Number 3, too much debt or not enough money to pay debts. Then you get into healthcare. Then you get into lack of money or low wages and energy costs and so on. That's pretty serious when you think about it, okay? So this is what people are thinking of, not having enough cash. Not having enough cash. And what has happened right now is very different than what we had experienced, let's say 2019. Yes, of course, it's always getting more expensive, but the surge has been so, it's like as if it's a recession and people lost their jobs. During those periods of time, you have, this calamity where everybody is, the food bank, everything, all that stuff. But it's technically not a recession. And technically, it's, the unemployment is so fantastic. It's so low. And what? People can't afford their essentials, the necessities. And at the same time, you could look at 2 factors, all really just basically crushing you from one side and the other, or from top and bottom. You have the Federal Reserve printing the currency into infinity or confetti, and then you can see what the government is doing, spending like there's no tomorrow. It's creating a perfect storm that's making it more and more difficult for people just to get by. We have this chart here, percent of Americans with no retirement savings. And certainly, of course, younger, if you're 18 to 29, that's probably not a first priority. You're probably more worried about getting a home and so on. But once you get into your 40s, you would think that people would start to be able to accumulate. But now, not the case. And I think, the people that are in this younger age, they're going to get into their 40s and none of them, or, the vast majority of people will be unable to. I think the percentages are just going to get worse.
I want to tell you guys something that's also going to happen. I lived over in Mexico for a while. And one of the ways that they operate in Mexico is if they don't get the money from you one way, they get it from you another. They figure out ways to get money from you basically backhanded. For example, oh, I'll do this for you, but I'm going, and then once they have you locked in, then they steal from you. It's a very nasty way of doing business, but it's just how everyone operates over there. And I guarantee you, this is what's going to be happening in Western society. Companies have been doing this for quite some time, and it's getting absolutely worse. The bait and switch. They do it in fast food. They're doing it in retail. They're doing it everywhere. The bait and switch approach where they get the consumer through the door and then they slap their wrist afterwards and don't give them what they pay for. Or there's all these different strings attached. You go onto Uber Eats. They tell you that you're getting a 2-for-1. But what you don't notice is that they raise the price of everything else. And then whatever you would be saving initially, they tack it on in service fees. And no one stops them. And they can get away with it entirely until someone sues them. And then, it takes forever just for these lawsuits to go through. And then finally, in the end, they pay the government some large fine, which means nothing to them. After they've made like $35 billion in revenue, they pay a small fine of like 200 million that goes to the government. And the government doesn't allocate it, doesn't give it to the people who were affected. No, they put that money in their pocket. So that's a cut. And it just continues going on like this forever. It's continuous stuff. And I'm telling you, you're going to see this happening in Western society where where everyone's going to become a predator. You're going to see a lot of predators just like stealing from people, using every means they possibly can. Gen Z is dangerous because they're so dishonest already. They're so dishonest. You have to be very careful of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is very bad. Okay, they were raised predominantly by single mothers. Gen Alpha is the first generation that is predominantly raised almost entirely by single mothers. They come from predominantly fatherless homes. They have the lowest, even worse than Gen Z, which is unbelievable. They have the lowest literacy rate ever. Okay? In the last 100 years, the lowest literacy rate in modern history. Okay? They're coming from fatherless homes and have high rates of illiteracy. All you have to do is just look at statistics, and right there you can see that, 80% of people in prison come from fatherless homes. Gen Alpha can't read, can't write, can't do basic math, and they're coming from fatherless homes, on top of a bunch of other factors. They all speak Ebonics. That's their language. They speak Ebonics. If you listen to how these children speak, all right, as a generation, they are speaking Ebonics. They are all headed to prison. If they're being dragged off constantly by police officers because they are so violent. Their behavior is atrocious. Okay? This is the state of Western society is in a rut right now. It's disgusting. And as we continue to run out of money, because there's this notion that with these people who are demanding $20 an hour now and getting it, all these low skilled people or no skilled people demanding high amounts of money and getting it, who does that affect? That comes out of people like you, people who have skill sets. They basically start squeezing you. Your employer doesn't want to pay you what you're supposed to be getting so that some guy at McDonald's can get $30 an hour, and it's called kindness. These people are only going to keep pushing until the next step is $30 an hour, and they're going to get it. And then from $30 an hour, they're going to be fighting for $50 an hour. Telling you right now, $50 an hour. And there's people think that, oh, well, if we get the right person in the White House, it's going to fix the problem. It won't fix the problem. No one can stop this bleeding. We are $34 trillion in debt. We can't pay this back. We have no way of paying it back. The boomers are insane. The boomers have literally said that, we're never going to pay it back, and that's fine. They're crazy. If you don't pay your debts, it will come back to haunt you. We have $34 trillion. We're $34 trillion in debt in the United States. That's the amount of debt we're carrying in just the U.S. However, the United States has most of its debt outside of the United States. So our actual debt is over 300 billion. Correction, 300 trillion. When you consider that, it's and the amount of interest that we owe on our debt. The fact is we can't keep up to date with our interest payments. We can't even, Social Security is running out rapidly. No one wants to go near mentioning even cutting Social Security because it would be political destruction, as the boomers would come after anyone who even mentions it. I'll tell you right now, with the boomers, it feels like they're going to be here forever. They're not. They're not. The boomers, they live very unhealthy lives. Very unhealthy lives. A lot of them will be gone over the next 10 years. Over the next 10 to 15 years, a lot of the boomers will vanish. It's the truth. I'm 41 right now. No, correction. I'll be 41 in a couple of months. And a lot of the boomers will be gone over the next 10 to 15 years. Within the next 15 years, a lot of them will be gone. And the truth is that there's a saying that people who are born rich pass away poor, and people who are born poor pass away rich. The boomers, just like they're worse than this. They're worse than the Zoomers in some way because they were born into very privileged lives. They were given everything and they squandered it and they threw it all away. And we're now paying the consequences for this. And these people are just like spend baby spend, just like drill baby drill. They're literally like spend baby spend. They're furious that the government's not spending even more money. They want the government to print even more money to pay for to ensure that they get full Social Security benefits. These people are beyond radical, and they don't want you to talk about it. And when things go downhill, they will claim to be victims of their children, victims of their grandchildren, victims of every other generation. Gen X knows they're not getting Social Security. Most Gen Xers basically say they would just be happy getting what they paid back into the system, and they know that's never going to happen. Guys, don't forget I have another channel called Angry, where I discuss gaming, anime, geek stuff, nerd stuff, real world stuff, and whatever else interests me. There's a link to it in the description of the video. Go check it out. Subscribe to my channel. Support my work. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, you want even more of this content, you can head over to the Men Walking Away channel, where I release daily videos, and there's a link to it in the description of the video. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? America is running out of money and nobody cares. Let me know your thoughts and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, Men Walking Away. And cheers.